Yes, sir.
Did you visit the evening rain today? The evening rain in your village. Did you visit? Did not answer. What is the number of students now in the class?
6.
6. Mr. Gopalji,
Good evening, sir.
good evening. What is the number in your class now? Number of students?
6.
Only 6. Okay. As I think that you all got a notice that on 28th June 2020 your test examination would begin. Now you are in the online English with me. For your information, this should be known to you that all the questions will be objective. There will be 20 questions to be answered in 40 minutes or 30 minutes. You need not answer such questions which require to be answered in length. Only objective questions shall be given to you to answer. In my memory, I have taught you a letter to God, and later on I taught you the lesson, dust of snow, fire and ice, the stories about flying, the black aeroplane, how to tell wild animals, the ball poem. Out of these textual lessons, questions will be set for you. If you have read carefully all these lessons already taught to you, you will answer properly and correctly. Today, at the eve of the test examination, I remind you the story written by Z.L. Fuentes. He wrote a letter to God. We are believers in science, and the lesson's name is a letter to God. We know that God is an abstract thing. God is not a concrete thing. God is invisible. So anybody or whoever writes a letter to God, he may be a philosopher or an unscientific person. Simply we can draw this conclusion. If a person says that he is going to write a letter to Lord Shiva of Baidyanath Dham, we shall laugh at the person. We know that in the temple there in Baidyanath Dham, in the pagoda, there is a phallus of stone, and that is believed to be a holy stone. People worship there, people pour the water from the Ganges, people offer trefoils of Bilvapat bale, people offer flowers, sandal, and many things to please God. For so many years past and going back to the infinite years, we did not find that God is a person. So, the imagination of G.L. Fuentes is a mockery, is a joke at the understanding of some people that there is a being like God who can receive a letter. This is the scientific explanation. This is the scientific criticism of the lesson. But the social and religious aspect of the lesson is that a person who staunchly and strongly believes in God, he is a holy man. He is a good man. We prefer such people. With these two aspects, we have to study the lesson. In this lesson, there is a farmer named Lenko. His house is on a hill and he cultivates some land. His whole family depends on the production of that farming. It is an incident that one day he goes to his field and discovers there that an irrigation was necessary for those crops to yield a good production. As the farmer hopes, the story shows that at that time there was only one means of irrigation. It was the mercy of God, and drops for irrigation came from the sky. It is the inherent idea in the lesson, because the farmer returns to his house, he looks at his wife and he expresses his pleasure and says that the crop in the farm was good and it needed a simple irrigation. Meanwhile, his wife prepared dishes for him and she calls on children to come together to take meal. At that particular time, the farmer looks at the sky. There is black cloud, and the farmer hopes that it must rain. And if it rained, the production would be good. It happened so that it began to rain. It did not rain only, it held, and this downpour destroyed the whole crop. When the farmer went back to his farm, he saw that the crop was so destroyed that even TDs, locusts, did not do. Even locusts left somewhat in the field. But the rain with hailstones destroyed the crop in the way that there was nothing in the field to get and to carry to the house. The farmer became perturbed, worried, anxious. What would he and his family eat all the year? Being very sad, he returned to his house. There he said, there was only one hope, and that was the hope of God. And at that juncture, at that place, he writes a letter to God. In that letter, he demands 70 pesos. He writes all the things about his crop, about his family, about his destruction, and everything in the letter. And he drops the letter in the post office. The mail peon and the postmaster, when finds that the address was to God, the postmaster laughs and surprises. But the postmaster also thinks that the person whosoever wrote the letter would be a holy person, and such belief in God had he possessed. Actually, the letter did not reach anywhere. The postmaster consciously kept the letter in his office, and he managed some money in some days to send the money to the farmer. But the postmaster could manage a lesser amount, not the amount demanded by the farmer. And that managed money was sent through a money order to the farmer. The farmer got the money order. He became angry. The reason was that he had demanded 70 pesos, but the money order paid to him only some pesos, less than 70 pesos. And then he began to suspect, he began to doubt that God had sent him 70 pesos and the employees of the post office had misappropriated the amount. It was the suspicion of the farmer. The farmer again writes a letter to God, and in that letter he writes his anguish, his anger. Why did you send less than 70? You did not know the need of the family. All the year the family would have to eat. This time I request you to send the amount directly to me. All these things in the story lead us to the simplicity of the farmer. So, we can say that a letter to God is a good lesson to study the simplicity of an Indian farmer. Because all the circumstances, incidents tally with Indian circumstances. Therefore, this lesson leads us to the simplicity of a farmer. Because farmers are uneducated, and it is related with quite some years, quite 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago, when farmers depended on the mercy of God. The lesson is interesting. Just I could say to you, if I had read the lesson, you also are meant to read all the lessons taught to you in this way, and then you will be able to answer objectively all the questions and correctively. All students present in the online class can ask any problem. I am here. I shall shoot out. I shall solve the problem if they have. Just today, you got the information, a reminder that on 20th June, the test examination will happen. And now you are given also an information that questions shall be from only 5 lessons. All this. Do you have any problem to ask me? Mr. Gopalji?
No, sir.
You have not any problem. And your Gajanan? Gajanan, do you have any problem? Huh? Gopal?
Gajanan is not present here.
Is not present there. Who is present there?
Bipin, Dev, Prachi, Ananya.
Okay, all right. I shall end the class now. I shall end the class now with an advice that students should revise all the lessons, read thoroughly, and they will be able to answer. Okay? Gopalji?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I close the class here. I see you again tomorrow.